All right, so today I'm going to be answering a question from Babafemi Joseph. And Babafemi Joseph is saying, I am a 400 level student thriving to become someone in the tech world. Sir, my issue is I don't know what to say always. I have thought about asking these questions for weeks, but I don't know how to put it and how it will sound. This has been affecting most of my relationships. I can stay in a room for weeks without talking to my roommate. Like it's so bad. I hardly post anything and no one knows what I do. I'm just too calm, lonely, and scared. But lately, I've learned I can't keep being like this. I want to connect with great minds and grow. I also want to contribute to people's lives um, and stop being an introvert. This monk mode of a thing has done more harm to me than good. Please, I need you to give me some actionable steps to help me become lively and to talk like a man of purpose. All right, thank you. This is a very good question from Babafemi Joseph. And I think I want to start by saying you asking this question, because Babafemi has asked this question on the Telegram group for those that are listening on the podcast, is a very big win for you, Babafemi Joseph. I think you should applaud yourself for just coming out and asking this question in the first place. I think you're already doing something actionable to interact more. You understand? You're already taking the right steps. So I applaud your just going out and just coming out and asking this question on in a community of over 2,000 people. And right now I'm answering your question on a podcast where a lot of people get to listen to it. And you realize that your question isn't that silly. And this is where I want to talk about. You see, Joseph here said something. He said that you are tired of being an introvert. You said something to that effect. You said, I want to contribute to people's lives and stop being an introvert. Now, being an introvert is not a bad thing. I want to establish that. It's a very beautiful personality to be introverted. It is not a bad thing. It's your nature, it's your person, it's your makeup. You're an introvert, and that's how you are. It's not a bad thing, and it's not a bad thing to be extroverted either. It's just who you are. You have introverted people, extroverted people, and you should never regret being an introvert. That is if you are an introvert. And that's what I want to come to with Babafemi's question here. A lot of people confuse being introverted with being insecure. They are two different things. Two different things. That you're introverted doesn't mean you are insecure. Do you understand? And that you're extroverted doesn't mean that you are confident. It doesn't mean you could be extroverted and insecure. We approach it two different ways. But insecure means you are unsure of yourself. And your question is not really about introversy, it's more about insecurity. That's what I get from your question. You are unsure of yourself. So when you talk about, I'm not sure how it will sound, I'm not sure if it will make sense, I'm not sure whether they will be interested, I don't want to make a fool of myself, that is more of insecurity than it is about being introverted. I know quite a number of people that are introverted and they're confident. They're confident. They're confident. They don't talk a lot, they like their space, they like their boundaries, but they're confident. I know people that are extroverted that are highly insecure. They just keep talking and talking and going out and showing and showing. It's just as a means of just wanting to be accepted. You understand? So they're insecure. You understand? So I don't know if you are naturally introverted or you are just a very insecure person. Now, insecurity is something that we all deal with. You understand? Everybody at some level or the other has some measure of insecurity. That's the truth. Yours seems to be very strong. And this is where we need to identify where the insecurity comes from. You need to try to identify where the insecurity comes from. Because when you identify where the insecurity comes from, you can start to uproot the lie. Insecurity in itself is not particularly a bad thing, because it makes us collaborate. But when it is deep, where it now becomes a burden, where you feel insignificant, you feel inconsequential, then there's a problem. You understand? Then there is a problem. There's a big problem. So insecurity is not particularly a bad thing. Sometimes it makes you appreciate people more. Like for me, I'm not big on cooking. You understand? I never really learned how to cook since when I was a young boy, and so my wife is away for a long time. I kind of start to feel some jitters. I'm like, oh man, how am I going to? The first thing I think is, how am I going to cook for the kids? You understand? I can cook a couple of things, but I'm insecure about other things. And so when she's gone, I'm like, when are you going to be back? When are you going back? When are you going to... So when she travels, I feel so I appreciate her more. You understand, for that. So there's always insecurity in different areas. You understand? You can feel insecurity. My wife is insecure about some things which I'm confident and about doing, and it makes her appreciate me more. That, oh, I'm so glad you're back home. Oh, I'm glad. So insecurity is good. It helps us to appreciate what other people have that covers our insecurity. But then when it makes you feel I am worthless, I am insignificant, nobody would hear what I have to say because it doesn't make any sense, then that is now becoming an identity theft. The insecurity is stealing your identity, is telling you that's all you are, someone who can do nothing, who is worth nothing. And so, for Baba Femi Joseph here, I think there's a deep sense of insecurity, and a lot of times, insecurity comes from people that have sown negative words, negative attitudes into our lives. Unfortunately, a lot of insecurity for a lot of people comes from our parents. A lot of insecurity comes from our parents. And to be honest, a lot of parents don't set out to make their kids insecure. It's just that a lot of people parent from a place of fear. So a lot of parents from, I don't want my child to turn out, I want my child to turn out with all my good attributes and none of my bad. So what we do is that we kind of overcompensate in trying to eliminate, so any signal of what we think is a bad attribute in us that we see in our kids, we try to just weed it out immediately as effectively as possible, and we do it in an insensitive way. Because the devil is always lying to us. When you become a parent, one of your biggest concerns is how my child going to turn out. So we have little patience or accommodation for a child to slowly ease out of things we are uncomfortable with. We want it to stop today, now. So when a child begins to talk, like, I don't want him or her to talk too much. I don't want her to be someone that talks too much or is talking too much. If she talks too much, how will she find a husband? You understand? She'll be one of those nagging, because personally you think your wife is a nagging person, and I don't want her to become like a nag. Or your wife herself, she sees the daughter and like, I don't want her to be that kind of person that the husband will just be avoiding, because your own husband avoids you because he says you talk too much. So you start to shut your daughter up. You understand? You see your son and he's not confident. Maybe he can't kill a cockroach. And like, why can't you kill a cockroach? Why can't you kill it? And you just want him to be courageous in one night, because you see yourself, you can't stand up to your boss at work, your boss is bullying you, you can't stand up for yourself, and then you don't want your son to turn out like you, and like, oh, he can't kill a cockroach, just like I can't stand up to my boss, and then you overcompensate in your discipline of the boy and trying to correct him, and then you use some mud. Why are you so cowardly? Aren't you a man? Aren't you do this? Aren't you? You're just behaving like a little girl. And then the boy becomes insecure. He sees himself as someone who is cowardly, who has no courage whatsoever, who is a wimp. So what you actually want to achieve is not achieved. You understand? So you have a variety of male characters. You have the ones that overcompensate for just wanting to be masculine. So you see them trying to build muscles, never wanting to cry, never wanting to be sensitive, always wanting to fight at every confrontation, because they hear their father say, you're a man, you're a man. You understand? And then you have the other ones that just retreat into some form of, okay, I just accept I'm a wimp. You understand? just nothing, and anyone can ride over me. So I'm just a victim. You understand? So you have those two types of men, and it always comes from um, some kind of toxic feedback that they've gotten when they were younger. And I see the same thing with ladies too. You have some ladies who are just, women just say, "Why are you wearing? Why are you wearing this? Why are you? Come, you're showing on. You're showing too much." You see, and sometimes the parents are right in discipline, but then because we want to weed out at that point in time and we want it to stop now and never be carried into tomorrow, you just make you are willing to body shame a lady to dress properly. So what are you wearing? See your with your skinny legs, and you're not wearing a long skirt. See your legs. Everybody seeing your legs and your skinny arms and she becomes insecure and she becomes to overcompensate. And so you see that kind of lady, she dresses drab, baggy clothing and never carrying herself because her mom has told her she has skinny legs, skinny arms, that kind of thing. So she covers that up. Or you find the other kind of lady who takes a more extroverted approach to negative feedback and says, okay, my legs are skinny. I'm going to do everything to make them plump. My hips, I'm going to make them plump. My bust, I'm going to make them plump so that they look good. And then she now gets into that always wanting to make curve her body in a way whereby it becomes very voluptuous. And then she's like, I'm going to show this off that I have a very attractive body. You understand? None is good because none is balanced. They are both insecure people. So what I'm saying, Baba Femi, is you're insecure because you've gotten some kind of negative feedback. People have shut you up. Probably people are still shutting you up right now and telling you, what are you saying? Keep quiet, keep quiet, keep quiet. I don't know where you are in the family. You might be the firstborn who got the brunt of the shut ups, or you might be the lastborn who is told by everybody to shut up. You understand? You can be anywhere in the family, but then there's something there that has told you a lie, and you are living in that identity yourself that you are not worth much. But I want to tell you that you are worth much. And one of the things about conversations and communication that makes your communication effective, a lot of people, like someone still reached out to me yesterday, and he's an intelligent young man, but he watched one of my, I put up a video, like a clip of a speaking engagement I had. I put on my WhatsApp, and he watched it, and he said, "Wow, sir, I would really love to be able to talk like you one day." And I told him, you don't have to talk like me. You need to talk like you. And I tell people this: it is not your vocabulary that makes you an effective speaker. I don't have the best vocabulary. That's the truth. It's not your vocabulary, it's not your eloquence, it's not your accent. It is your truth. When you're speaking your truth, you would always be interesting to listen to. That's just the truth right there, to be honest with you. When you speak your truth, you would always be interesting to listen to. You always have people's attention. Truth is what makes conversation interesting. And no matter how complex that person's truth is, no matter how you don't agree with that person's truth, you would listen to them. There are a lot of people on social media talking. I don't particularly agree with their truth, but I find myself watching their video to the end because they are speaking their truth with confidence. They are speaking their truth unedited. And that's one thing I learned about conversing. Speak your truth. Speak your truth. You need to speak your truth. Speak from your heart. Speak from your soul. You understand? Speak from deep within you, but not particularly from your head, because your head is made to edit. I learned this when I met my wife and we started dating. I realized our first few conversations, I was speaking from my head. So I would rehearse everything I wanted to tell her and the questions I wanted to ask and the questions I thought were proper to ask. You understand? But then I realized the conversations were always dead end. They were never interesting. But then one day I just decided to just say something on my mind. Just say something that was on my mind. And I realized it caught her attention. You understand? I just realized, oh, and we had a lengthy conversation based on that. And I was like, wow, I didn't even know when I let this come out. But I just said it. But I realized it was honest on my mind and was interesting for her. And from there, I just started taking to conversations. Just go there. Just go there. You see, a lot of people think what I want to say is stupid, but that stupid thing is also on somebody else's mind. It's on someone else's mind. And someone say, oh man, I really connect with that. I'm glad you're able to say this. You understand? So it's your truth that makes your conversations interesting. Like this question you've asked, trust me, there are a lot of people that think the same way. Why do I find it hard? Why am I in this what you call monk mode? Because you are covering your truth. You are suppressing your truth. Once you start having your truth, talk your truth. When you have a question, ask the question. You understand? When you want to give someone a compliment, give them a compliment. It's your truth. Give them a compliment. It's your truth. I remember going out to buy something somewhere, and the lady was taking my payment. You understand? So she was at the cash register, and as she took my card and she was pressing in things on the POS. And I look at her nails. Her nails were nice, and my mind was like, "Tell her nails are nice." I'm like, "How can I tell her that? I don't want to sound foolish. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm coming on to her. I don't want her to get any ideas." But the more balanced part of me was thinking, that is the truth. So I told her, "I like your nails. They're very nice." And she was like, "Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That makes me happy." You understand? That was the end of the conversation. She smiled. It wasn't bad, but I felt good. And she felt good. You understand? It was my truth. You understand? And maybe she really needed to hear that. So you need to speak your truth. We need to speak our truth more often. You understand? If you don't understand something, I don't understand it, say it. When you speak your truth, you become more interesting. That is my advice to you, Baba Femi. You need to start speaking your truth. Even in business, speak your truth. It helped me with my clients too. A lot of designers, when they're working with clients, they are too yes men, yes ma'am, kind of yes sir, yes ma'am. So they're like yes men. So every client says do this, do this, do this. But sometimes you may tell a client a little bit of a pushback. I don't understand why we're doing it this way. As a matter of fact, I don't particularly agree that we should use this color. I don't understand what you're saying. Just go there. So when I started to interact with clients and I started to ask questions that were really on my mind, I started to really, I started to get endeared. I was endeared to them. They were endearing to me. You understand that kind of thing. We started to build a relationship. But I was just honest with them. I was just honest with them. And I was like, I used to ask the most random questions. And clients say, I can't believe you asked me that. And that's the truth. And sometimes I ask clients, do you think that's a good enough reason to start a business? Don't think there should be something deeper? And nobody has ever asked me that before. I'm like, yeah, I'm asking you because I really want to know. I really want to know. Sometimes I ask clients when they say, I'm starting this business, I'm doing it, and I just ask them, is that really what you want to do with your life? It always throws them off. Like, this guy asked me what I really want to do in my life. I'm hiring him to do this thing. And I said, is that really what you want? Do you really enjoy doing this thing? And they think for a while and they're like, well, it's what I have to do right now. What I really want to do is this and this. And then we're going to, okay, maybe you might try it out. You understand? Maybe you want to just try it out, doing this thing. We can work on this project too, but don't give up on that. A lot of times when I work with clients and I'm honest with them, tell them my truth, they enjoy working with me. That's why when you work with them, they're like, this person really cares about me. And so when you work, they don't reject your job easily because they feel there's a relationship. What you have to say is important, Baba Femi and any other person listening. Don't let your insecurity have a better part of you. And your insecurity is not always connected to you being an introvert. You understand? It's not. You understand? Introverts are not people that talk a lot, they don't hang out a lot, but doesn't mean they don't say their mind. You understand? You have people, they just want to be quiet. But when you do go and talk with them, you have a deep, meaningful conversation with them, not an insecure one. So being an introvert is not a disadvantage to being a human being. You understand? It's not at all. It's not something we have to pray away. You don't have to pray away being an introvert. All you just need to do is be confident in even being an introvert. You understand? Be confident about it. As an introvert, you want to speak your mind. As an introvert, you tell someone, all right, so yeah, I'm kind of tired right now. I need to go to bed. I would like to be alone right now. People who appreciate it. But introverts, a lot of times, the insecure introvert would endure situations that they don't really like. So someone is staying with you and you're tired and you're like, man, I want to leave. I can't leave right now. And then you start hating being there. You understand? And that person can already sense that you're hating being there. And you realize that that person doesn't even want to hang out with you anymore. But when you're being honest with them, I'm like, okay, right now I need to go and just really go and read a book or take a nap or just want to go and watch TV. I want to be alone right now. There's nothing wrong with that. You understand? Be confident with who you are. But I really want you to know that what you have to say is important. What you have to say is important. Trust me, you have stuff to say to your roommate. Don't miss that opportunity. You understand? You want to ask them about their family. Ask them. Ask them about their interest. It's in your mind. You can't always judge things by whether they sound stupid, because some things will sound stupid, but that's what makes interesting conversations. So one thing I would really advise you to do, Baba Femi, is if you're still in a place where people are shutting you up, it's very important to disengage from people that shut you up. I am saying this with all seriousness. Do not try to stand or withstand people that give you that bring negativity into your life, into your mind. Nobody can withstand negativity. I'm telling you, you need to move away from negativity. And that's why you realize, like, if you read the Bible, Jesus was God in human form. But then you read some place where it just says he went to this place and their faith, they didn't have faith. They were so full of faith, so full of doubts, questioning, telling him to prove himself. Immediately, he gets into his boat and goes away. He doesn't stay there to try to convince them. He just leaves. Because that's Jesus. You understand? How much more you? You need to leave sometimes. Just leave. Don't spend too much time in a place of negative. You understand? You need to leave. Where there's too much negativity, you need to leave. Leaving might not mean getting a new house. It might just mean being outside some more. You understand? Being outside. You go in, you come back to sleep. Yeah, because we need to be serious about cutting out this constant drip of negativity that we get into our lives, because those things are hampering us. And look for more positive, a more positive atmosphere where you can thrive, where you can be allowed to be yourself and speak your mind, where you are not mocked or laughed at. Very important. Very important. So you need to be very conscious of your associations. You need to be very conscious of your associations. I really advise you to do that. When you start leaving those places, you realize that you start finding more confidence in who you are, especially when you now start getting to a place where people are giving you positive feedback. They have accommodation to listen to you. They are giving you time. It's very, very important. It's very important. It's very important. So I would ask you to seriously watch your associations. You understand? Cut off people that are just toxic around you. You need to cut them off. Don't try to prove yourself to them. Just leave. You need to leave. You need to stop taking some phone calls of people that just always make you feel bad. You need to start unfollowing some people on social media that always make you feel bad. Even though they're not talking to you directly, but they are mocking you, you understand? They make you feel bad. There are some people on social media, their aim is to advise and inspire, but in so doing, they talk bad and down at their audience. So some of them, talking to Nigerians, like, that's what I hate about you Nigerians. Nigerians are just so senseless. Nigerians are just so stupid. That's why I just don't like listening to Nigerians. Nigerians, you people should be using your head now. You should be using your brain now. That's a very toxic way of talking to people. So you listening to it, the person is talking to you too. So you go off that person's content feeling senseless, stupid, like someone that doesn't use their brain. You start cutting that out. There was a guy I used to listen to on Instagram. He used to make a lot of sense, but then he used to use all those derogative words on his audience. Say, you people just don't think. I'm just tired. You people are just useless. I'm like, which you people? And I'm sitting there listening to him. You understand? So you need to be You need to be careful of your audience. You need to be careful of the people that your association. You need to be careful of whose audience you are, and you see your confidence begin to build when you realize people are speaking life to you. But I think you're an intelligent young person. I think you asked a good question. It's not a ridiculous question at all. It's a great question, and I think you should allow more of your thoughts flow through and come out to people, and people will get to enjoy you, because I believe you're put here on earth to add spice. You are put here on earth to make the world interesting, to connect with people, to reach out to people. Whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you are beautiful the way you are.